Fabulous. Okay. So happy New Year, everybody. Really nice to see all of you this year in 2023. I was saying before that we have some real sort of small business superstars. I'm focusing on small business. This evening, we'll talk about everything as well, other, city items and first ward items. But we do have some small business superstars. We have Nina Barrett, who will talk about the future of Bookends and Beginning this evening, and her move and her new beginnings. We also have John Pottinger should be on from Al's Deli. They're like family to me. I grew up down the street and used to go to Al's Deli when I was very little and buy their penny candy out of their glass case. It was magical. So they're going to be coming also. And I just want to say both of them have had, I'm not trying to promote this, but they both have had GoFundMes, which have been really impressive to me in the real strong community support for those GoFundMes. To me, just reflects how much these businesses, these legacy businesses, represent more than just the product that you go in there to buy. They're really institutions, I think, cultural institutions for Evanston, and really means so much for our identity and our sense of community. I think just, that strong response to those GoFundMes tells us that they're more than just a place to go and buy a product. So that's been really exciting. We'll also have one of our preservation commissioners discuss both the Legacy Business Working Group, which we're very excited about, some steps that we're taking moving forward to support some of our legacy businesses. And if you can, Ms. Connolly, if you could put the agenda in the chat box, that would be great. So I won't, and by the way, for public safety, we decided, I spoke with Officer Russ, we had a long talk about the best way to really be able to discuss public safety and concerns and questions. And we decided that we would do that at the in-person meeting. So every Tuesday after every ward meeting, I'll hold that in-person meeting. Over the summer and warm months, we sat outside, had drinks and talked. I'm doing it now over coffee this Tuesday at Collectivo Coffee at 9 o'clock. So an Officer Rust will be with me then to discuss questions, concerns, and updates on public safety there. So I hope you can join me there too and have a cup of coffee at Collectivo. So before we, let's see, Ms. Connolly, can you tell me, do we have our guests? I also will have Jeanette Sturgis from Evanston Public Library. She let me know that she could jump on to discuss some of the really wonderful initiatives at the library, as well as answer questions. I know it was recently in the news, and I know they're working very hard to really create an inviting, safe, welcoming space there. So Jeanette Sturgis will be with us also this evening. Let's see. Okay, so it's in the chat box now, the agenda. Okay. And as you all know, I like to have a pretty open flow. This meeting is for you all. So if there are questions or concerns, feel free to raise your hand and jump in. I don't expect everybody to sit and wait until the very end of the meeting to speak or ask questions. So at any moment, please jump in. We will talk about the proposed high-rise on Chicago Avenue and other issues. I put those all sort of at the end, a bunch of the Northwestern finances and Fleetwood Jourdain and other citywide topics. So we will also discuss that. And I just want to point out a few things from 2022 that I feel very happy and proud about that our council did. And what I feel most happy about is our pension, that we finally fully funded our public safety pensions. That was really historical. And I don't know, some of you may have attended, I held a workshop with a member of the president of the police pension board to talk about that. And that really, underfunding has led our city into an incredible pension obligation debt, where we have spent tens of millions of dollars, many tens of millions of dollars over the years in just financing that debt, because we've been not fully funding. We've been funding at about 90%. And so I am really proud that this year, and I worked very, very, very hard on this, that we moved forward, and with unanimous support, our council voted to fully fund our public safety pensions this year, which means our debt won't increase this year. And we're going to vote on, I believe at our next Finance and Budget Committee, a plan to keep this moving forward at the fully funding every year with a plan until it's paid in 2040. So that's very exciting to me and very, very meaningful for our residents. I'm also very proud of the fact that we have 2 years where the levy did not increase. I came in and I was committed to that, and that was also took a lot of hard work. And I'm very happy to be able to report that, in fact, for the past 2 years, the levy remained flat and did not. And that's also pretty historical. It's been many, many years. I think I counted 20 back. It's been going up every single year. So for 2 years now, we've held it flat. And I feel this is very important because I think we all know that Evanston has become more and more financially difficult to live here, less and less affordable. Our demographics have changed. Our middle class residents have moved out. We see more and more now living in Skokie. So I'm really delighted. I'm happy to report that. Those are just a few items. There's many more that I could talk about: legacy business, our dog beach that's open, but I won't go on. Downtown, that's sort of on the other side of things. We all know that needs serious attention, and that's why I'm focusing on our businesses this evening, and I'm working day in and day out to try to address that issue. So of getting our storefronts filled and creating a vibrant space downtown. So, okay. All right, well, let's see. Do we have, let's see, it's 7:09. Is Ms. Sturgis, are you on the call?
I am. Hello.
Okay. Hi, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you so much for having me. So my name is Jeanette Sturgis. I am the Marketing and Communications Manager at the Evanston Public Library. My cat just got very vocal, so she may be visiting too, sorry in advance. So I'm just here with a few updates about your library, some things we've got, some exciting things we've got going on. I'm here to take your questions and answer them the best I can. And I'd love to start off with some really good news, which just happened this week, which is that one of our librarians, Alicia Madison, won the American Library Association's I Love My Librarian Award, which is a huge deal in the library world. 10 librarians a year get selected for this. And this year there were 1,500 nominations from across the country. Alicia is our innovation and digital learning manager right now, our interim in that position. And she can be seen all around town working with our team. So she does amazing work with partnerships with Family Focus, with Evanston Grows, teaching kids hydroponics, teaching kids coding. So incredibly proud of her. We've got going. The Evanston Public Library now officially has a 501c3 partner, which is a very big deal for us because it allows us to take advantage of even more opportunities to get out and connect in the community and grant funding and many of those things. The organization is called the Partners of the Evanston Public Library, also known as the People, PEPL, very clever. I think they worked on that one a while. They meet on the second Monday of the month at the Robert Crown Branch Library to develop just ways of supporting us at the library, whether that's joining us at events or advocating for the library or fundraising. So they are looking for enthusiastic library lovers to join. So if that's you, you can find more information about them on our website. We are also on the hunt for a new executive director. So as you might be aware, the labor market is just kind of crazy right now, and it's a very highly specialized skill set for library directors. So our board has taken a sort of flipped approach to how they're going about finding a new library director. And that began in the fall with soliciting community feedback. And so we had, you may have seen if you get our updates, a community survey that went out in both English and Spanish to the community to identify what characteristics we're looking for. And they are now taking that information with them as they solicit the services of a search firm. And the hope is that we're going to find a really good fit early in this process that way. And you can find more information about the search also on our website. We have a page dedicated to it at epl.org/director search. It's also just easy to find there. So, and then I've got a few programs too that I thought might be of interest to you all. The library partners with the Northwestern Emeriti organization to produce free mini courses for the community. Earlier this week, we had 2 esteemed cardiologists teach a class called Diet, Heart Health, and Living a Full Life, which was wildly popular. You don't have to go to the first one to go to the second one. So the next one is coming up on Wednesday, the 25th at 7 p.m. So highly recommended. Apparently everybody had a blast learning to eat healthy. So we also partner with mental health professionals across the community to bring you our Mental Health is Essential series. And that is a conversation that changes every month on some topic of mental wellness. On Tuesday, we're holding a program called Is It the Winter Blues or Is It Sad? About seasonal affective disorder. So if you get as miserable as I do in February when you haven't seen the sun for several months, that is an excellent program that will be filled with resources and ideas for how to get through the home stretch on winter. Our Dedicated to the Dream program begins this Saturday. And this is a program that is really a space for families with young kids that we're just very proud of because it's really taken off in the library world as a whole. And it is, it's a space for giving families giving parents the words to talk about race and racism, because it can be such a difficult topic for some families to talk about, but little kids get curious about these things. And when you don't have when parents don't talk about these things, kids kind of make up their own ideas. So, or absorb things from around them. So this is a way of affirming all skin colors, all skin tones, and really celebrating all of the different cultures that everybody comes from. And it is just a program that other libraries have started to take notice of and start developing across the country for curriculums for their families to use. And then finally, we have, starting on Thursday, we are kicking off a series called Ageless Art, which is a series that is dedicated to our older residents. I don't believe they put like a hard number on it, but typically we say around 55 or better. So if you are someone who hasn't had the time to really indulge your creative streak and feels like now's the time, this is our first session is Thursday. And it is an urban sketching class. There are 4 seats left, so if you want in, get in. And of course, you can find all of that information at epl.org. You can also sign up for our email newsletters there. And of course, you can always just stop in at the library. So that's a few of our highlights of all the things that we have going on. It's just the tip of the iceberg, I assure you. I am happy to take any questions. I am happy to comment on anything. I assume that we might have a couple, maybe from Councilmember Kelly, if you want to start that conversation. I can talk to you about some of the changes that we are making relative to safety and security at the library too. I'm happy to address all that.
Great, thank you. You are doing so many wonderful things. I really admire you and all the work of the librarians and Heather Norborg and everybody there. So thank you so much. Let me see, are there any questions here for Jeanette? You can just speak or raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. And I know you're also working to hire a social worker to address some of the issues recently mentioned, which I'm really pleased with. I'm working to try to see about additional funding. I'd love to see even more hired.
We would really appreciate the support. So just for anyone who maybe hasn't seen it in the news, we had an incident last Monday that was a conflict between a member of our safety team and a patron that escalated very rapidly and involved a weapon, which of course is not permitted at the library in any case. Our staff is not permitted to use guns as a part of their duties. There's obviously lots of things I cannot comment on based on personnel matters that are kind of ongoing, but I wanted to affirm for you that the library is working on addressing safety and security from a wide variety of angles. So one, that means a policy review for such as what I have just stated, and perhaps reminding staff that might not have understood that memo, which is a little concerning. But also, we are reviewing all of our regular schedules for our required staff training. So that includes, the library uses a curriculum called the Librarian's Guide to Homelessness, which helps us which helps our librarians learn to de-escalate conflicts and really address like the root problems of conflicts in the library rather than allowing things to escalate. We are also working on how we respond more quickly and effectively in an emergency. We had some amazing staff members that did the work of making sure that all of our patrons were safe at the library, but we just know that we can continue to improve on that. And then we are, as Councilmember Kelly mentioned, we are working to, the library has had for the past several years, that we've been at the forefront of having social workers as staff members in the library. And that's been a partnership historically with Ascension, and the library has paid for that, for a social worker to come in and be fully staffed in the library to just identify, to work with people of all kinds, to identify their needs and really address problems before they ever become problems in the first place. Our contract ended at the end of last year, and so we have been in the process of working with Ascension, other community partners, to identify ways to move forward with that contract, or to hire social workers as a full partner, a full member of our staff. So as terrible as that entire incident is, it would be absolutely, the worst thing would be for us to not learn from it and not move forward. So that is truly what we are really focused on right now. The library is a place for everybody in Evanston to be able to find the resources that they want, and that means that that means that it has to be a place where everyone feels safe. That includes our staff and all of the patrons there. So whole bunch of questions in the chat, looks like.
Oh,
maybe
right.
a question. Did we get one? Just one. Oh, the meeting dates for the people group. Yes, that one is very easy. That is the second Monday of the month. So their next meeting will be February 13th, Monday, at 7 p.m. And that's at the Robert Crown branch. And there's usually snacks. So I would recommend going to that meeting for sure. You're welcome.
Great.
Yes, correct.
Let's see, any other questions? Thank you so much, Jeanette. Really appreciate you coming on this evening. And it really is
no problem.
Wonderful. Mostly I frequent the downtown library and just really love it. I encourage everyone, if you haven't been there in a while, just to step in. It's really inspiring and relaxing and lovely.
Thank you. I'm also pretty brand new to the Evanston community. I've been here about a year now, so I'm going to hang out on the rest of the meeting and just kind of learn more about some of the businesses, if that's cool with everyone.
Of course, everybody's
okay.
welcome.
Fabulous. I'll mute and turn my video off, but yeah, I'll be
okay.
here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Okay. Why don't we now go on to, I see Nina Barrett is with us. And I think many of you already know Nina Barrett, the owner of Bookends and Beginning, a very cherished business in town. Nina, how are you? You're here, I think. I did see you. Let's see, Nina, you might have to unmute. Okay, so let me go ahead and
it's
Nina,
only been a year of 3 years of Zooming, and I can unmute myself.
It's a lot of cross circuits, all this Zoom activity. Thank you for coming this evening. And I'm just really excited to have you here and excited to hear about your plans. And your bookstore has just meant so much to us in Evanston. It's really been a center, a cultural center, an institution for us. And I'm so, so happy you're going to remain in our downtown. And I think we'd love to hear from you. So thank you for coming this evening.
Sure. I very much appreciate being invited. It takes a village, as they say. And so the first thing I want to do is thank you, Claire, because you have worked so hard. And anybody who came to that previous meeting that we had, that was just sort of an update a month ago or whenever that was. I did thank Claire, but she worked so hard to try to keep us in the alley for a long time. And then when that just didn't work out, Claire has been working very hard on our behalf to raise funds for us and to smooth our path to the new store. I don't know if Paul Zalmazak is on the call. I know he's on the agenda. I want to thank him too, because he was super helpful in getting $83,000 from the city to help us in the new space. And I don't know if Carl is here, Carl Klein, he's also on the agenda, but he also just gave us a lot of help. And then I see all these names of people who I know are our customers and I know contributed to our GoFundMe campaign, which so far has more than 1,200 donors and has raised, as of tonight, very near to $102,000. So that has just been a thing of incredible beauty to see people really rallying. We're working in the space now. And I don't want to reveal too much about what's going on in there, but I do want to say that because I mean, it was really heartbreaking for all of us, me, but I know for so many other people whose relationship to our old space went back to Bookman's Alley. And it's been really heartbreaking for a lot of people that there isn't going to be a bookstore in there anymore. And a lot of people are very attached to that space that some people might call shabby, but it always had a bookstore that made it magical. And it was of primary concern to me moving to a new plain vanilla box kind of space, that it still be magical. But we haven't tried to replicate what's in the alley. We've thought of other ways to make it magical. As we wind up, we are going to have an event next Wednesday night called Last Call in the Alley. That is a 2-hour event that is for people who just want to come and say goodbye. We're going to, make some toasts to everything that it's been over the years. We're going to have some special guests, including Claire has agreed to come make a toast. You can find that event on our website. It's free, but you need to register because we just want to make sure that we can accommodate everybody who wants to come. And then our last day of business is going to be January 28th, I believe, is the Saturday. We'll just have a regular business day. Then we're going to close our doors and that's it. And then we hope to reopen in the new store around February 9th. It's a little bit iffy because we're waiting for our fixtures to arrive and they haven't come yet. And until they come, we can't unpack all the boxes. We will have the first day in business will be a soft opening, and that's going to be specifically to thank our GoFundMe donors. So we'll be inviting those 1,200 people. And my little scoop that I'm just telling you tonight, because we just figured this out, but we're getting special little badges that you can have if you were a GoFundMe donor and you helped us move the alley. So those people, when you come to that event, you'll be able to get your little badge that says, I helped save Bookends and Beginnings. And that's all. I mean, we're just going to hope that it's a smooth transition. Everybody's been trying to make it smooth for us. And so, you know, we're just going to move on to a new chapter.
Thank you so much. Nina, what time is I put up the last call? It's Wednesday, the 25th.
Yeah, so it's gonna be from 6 to 8 p.m., but we're doing it in like 2 separate sittings so that we can kind of control the flow of traffic. So you either have to sign up for the 6 to 7 p.m. slot or the 7 to 8 slot.
Okay. And that's all through the website, which is on the
I'll
agenda.
put the link on there.
Oh,
That'd
great.
be great.
So Wednesday, the 25th.
Next Wednesday.
Wonderful. Well,
It's
we're
really-
really looking forward to that. And this is exciting. I think it's a new beginning, and I know it's going to be wonderful. And I've been, you know, like Nina, we know that that space in the alley was a magical space. And so much of the bookstore is not only, of course, the items and the books that Nina sells, but it's that beautiful, warm, inviting space that Nina created. And so I want to do everything I can, and thank you to everybody who has supported Nina in making sure that she can also open that sort of a space that pulls you in, that invites you in over on Orrington Avenue. And so I've been working with consulting and talking with people across the nation about funding and ways I'm hoping that we will have a fund set up very soon to support our legacy businesses as well as our small businesses throughout Evanston. It's just such an important part of our town. It's, you know, it's about the quality of living. And again, I think like Nina's year GoFundMe, wow, like knocked it out of the ballpark. So impressive. Again, that just speaks to how much we care about your business and what it means to us as a place in our downtown. So thank you for hanging in there, and you know, hanging in with the struggle to move forward. And we appreciate it because you're really a huge asset to our city. So thank you.
I just want to quickly mention, you know, one of the things that we still are working on, and you know, we do need the extra funding for, is, you know, we also really want the outside and the street outside the store to be, you know, they talk about activating the street, and there are, you know, some issues with that right now in downtown Evanston, of the sidewalks being empty, and we all know that a lot of the storefronts are empty. We really want to design a sort of outside space where we can put used books out there in a sort of permanent cases, and flower boxes, and it'll be pretty, but it will also be an outside installation that will invite people walking down the street to stop and browse and sit and, you know, and make our streets peopled again. Wonderful.
That's great. And I know your to-be neighbors. I had dinner at Nicorn last night with my son and his girlfriend. And they said they might drop in tonight, but I haven't seen I don't know if Sammy from Nicorn is there, but they are so excited also about your move. So we have a question from Candy. You have to unmute yourself.
Will the gift store be incorporated into the bookstore? You know, now it's had a separate entrance.
Yeah, so the main reason we took that space in the first place is it became available at the very beginning of the pandemic, actually. And we wanted basically some kind of foothold out on the street, because back in the alley was magical for everybody who discovered that we were down the alley, but we really were missing all of the foot traffic, you know, all the visiting for the football games and the reunions and all of that street traffic. Most people who didn't already know we were there would not come down that alley. And so we really took that space. It was inconvenient to have 2 separate stores. It was inconvenient for us because we had to staff them. It was inconvenient for customers because if you were in the alley store and you just wanted a greeting card, you had to make a separate trip and you know, whatever. So it was, in a lot of ways, it was very inconvenient. but it was really valuable to us to just have a tiny little bit of real estate on Sherman Avenue. Now we will be able to bring both of those things back together as they were originally. And I think it'll make it much more convenient for shoppers. And of course, we're going to have that gorgeous visibility and the big windows and a, much more prominent location. So we don't have two separate stores anymore, really.
Thank you.
Thank you. And can you do a hat tip to Roger Carlson? Is Roger Carlson Mitchell? Would you like to speak to that, to Roger Carlson?
Yeah, sure I would. I knew him. He was there when it was Bookman's Alley. I don't know, was he there 30 years or so? He was an amazing guy. And the bookstore was the most unique bookstore I was ever in my life. And yeah, I think he deserves a shout out, because if it weren't for him, there would be no bookends and beginnings. He was an interesting character, that's for sure. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. A lot of creativity and innovation in that history. Wonderful. And there's a question also here. Thank you, Bernard, for asking that. Bernard Riley, about tax benefits encouraging commercial property owners. So there is some, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but there are some vacancy credits that you can get, but it used to be you could get them for much longer. I think now under Fritz Kagi, it's limited to 2 years, so that's better. In other words, you can't get quite the same breaks for vacancy that you could get in the past. But there are a lot of measures that a lot of cities take, and believe me, I'm working hard at trying to figure out what we can do to encourage filling those empty store spaces and to discourage leaving them empty. So there are things some cities do impose, fees or fines or taxes if storefronts are left open for so long. There's a lot of measures, and there's also incentives. So there's a lot of possibilities. So I think I'm meeting tomorrow with City Manager Stowe and Paul Zalmazek to discuss this and to try to move forward with measures that we can do right now with the city to help protect our businesses and allow businesses to expand and to fill those empty store spaces. And Bernie, if you'd be interested in joining that conversation, as always, I love the conversations with residents. Many of you bring some wonderful ideas, so please feel free always to reach out to me, call, email. Great. Yes, Bernie.
Yeah, my understanding though is that there are incentives in the tax code or in the tax treatment of commercial property owners that have been leading to some of these exorbitant increases in rents that have really emptied out a lot of the storefronts and the restaurants in Evanston. Is that what you mentioned? Was that just the vacancy credits, or is there something else?
Yeah, I was just referencing vacancy, but I do know this is a nationwide trend, and I'll do some research and see if I can give you an answer to that. But I know this is a nationwide trend where in the past there used to be a lot of purchasing, renovating, flipping. Now it's about buying and jacking rents up. And this is a phenomenon that's going on again across the nation and really harming small businesses, also tenants. So, but I'll look into that to see, I haven't heard that, but I'll certainly check into that and circle back to you, Bernie, on that. If there are incentives, actual tax incentives for raising rents. Thank you for asking.
Hi, Kelly.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. I'm in Sherman Plaza.
Okay.
I know what is taking over Clark's spot over Clark's. I know Clark's went out. Clark's, the breakfast place on.
Oh, I know. That's just I know I feel terrible about that. Speaking of legacy businesses, that's one of our oldest, Clark's.
Correct.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully when Paul Zalmazek gets on, he's going to be on in the later part of the evening. Maybe he'll have some information, or Annie Coakley, who's going to join us also this evening. They can speak to that. I don't know, but it's just, I hope they'll come to our legacy business meeting and talk so we can hear about it and hear, because we're really here. And I know we just got started the legacy business program recently, but if you ever hear of small businesses struggling, we're starting already with several measures to help support our legacy businesses. So we want to hear from them before they get to that point of closing.
And do you know what Crumble? I heard a hot dog place, and Egg Harbor is coming to Everson. And a
Which-
Mexican Egg Harbor, a breakfast place by the movie house coming where Divine used to come.
Okay, I don't know about that. I do know that we do have a Mexican cuisine coming in where stained glass used to be. I know that because it's first ward, but I'm not familiar with the one. I think that would be in the second ward.
What about Crumble? Crumble, I heard Crumble is coming to downtown. A cookie place is coming to downtown Everson.
I don't know, but I will be sure to ask Ms. Coakley or Mr. Zalmazak. So thank you for bringing
Okay.
that. I wrote it down.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you, Nina, very much for your presentation. And we look forward to seeing how Bookends and Beginnings evolves and grows. And I know it's going to be a lot of fun and wonderful. And magical. So thank you. So I see we have with us now, let's go ahead with our other legacy wonderful small business. I think I saw John Pottinger in Al's Deli working a minute ago. John? He was there. Oh, there he is. Hi, John. Thank you for joining us this evening. Al's Deli, I have to say, when I mentioned you earlier this evening, I feel like it's like home, like family. I've been going there since I was 9 years old. So, so you are absolutely just core to Noy Street, to Evanston, for Northwestern students, for everybody. We all just adore your European deli style and the ambiance and the food and the amazing sandwiches and soup and cookies. So anyway, without further ado, this is John Pottinger, one of the owners of Al's Deli. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Sure. So yeah, our situation with the COVID has hurt us, and we're a couple of old guys, and so we feel that there should still be a mask mandate, and we don't do indoor dining either, and that has hurt us. And the winter season is our slower time, so we did get in trouble. We didn't pay November rent or December, and come the 27th of December, we realized that there was no way we're gonna make it, and so we did the GoFundMe, and the response was really, really good. We can't match the bookstore. There's some impressive figures there, but for Al's Deli, was really good. We raised about $17,000 in the 2 weeks, and over about 280 people contributed. And that paid for November, December, and January rent. And plus, now we have a cushion. We have the equivalent of another 3 months rent in the GoFundMe account. So that's helped a lot. And the publicity around it has generated more business also. But yeah, other than that, it's just with politicians saying the pandemic is over, and people being against masks and things like that, it makes it a little hard. You get the occasional confrontation over the masks, and one person threw a mask at me, and the biggest guy I ever saw came to the door on the day before the mandate ended for masks, and he looked at the sign, then took a photograph of it, put it on social media. Then he goes around a little bit so I can get direct eye contact with him, and then he spits at me.
Oh, no.
But boy, was the biggest guy. He makes a football lineman look like a midget. So fortunately, that was all that happened. So with no indoor dining, that's a whole number of people who don't come nearly as often and things like that. In the better weather, we do some outdoor dining. So, well, that's basically the way things are. I'm very happy with the response to this GoFundMe. It's been amazing. I'm not sure what else anybody wants to know.
Yeah, so can you tell us, John, so when did Al's Deli open?
Oh, 1949.
1949.
Yeah, my father started it then. My uncle worked for a short time, and but he died in 70. My dad died in 92, and then Bob and I have been here for a long time. Bob started in 1971, and I went full time in 1979. If you come in, you can see a lot of fixtures that not only date from 1949, but actually came with the store when my father bought it in 1949. Let's just see this. So get it in a picture here. See that scale there? I can barely get it in. In any case, that came with the store. And if you could look closely, you see that it only goes to $1.25 per pound because it's from 1932. We once had a shelf in the back room that we took down, and underneath the shelving paper, there was a paper from 1932 with a little headline saying Dizzy Dean signs with the cards. And then this cooler you can see behind me is also from 1932. It's made of solid oak. Even the shelves inside are solid oak. So there's numerous things like that. We're a very mid 20th century sort of place. Even what we wrap our sandwiches in, I'm not sure if you can see that. Well, whatever. Anyway, in any case, is paper that nowadays has to be made specially for us. Believe it or not, everybody puts things in plastic, but this is called a baker's paper that we have to special order. And then our cash register. I can't get in the picture. I can't see. You can barely see it. In any case, it has a slot for pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and silver dollars. A slot for singles, fives, and tens, but there's no slot for a $20 bill. Back in the 1932, when it was bought, apparently ambition stopped short of a $20 bill. And I was watching LA Confidential, the movie, a long time ago. And in that movie, there's a scene in a diner where there's a robbery and a massacre, and the robbers leave the cash drawer open. And the one in that movie is exactly the same as the one we have. For a long time, I said, what could my father be thinking? They got a cash register that couldn't accommodate a $20 bill. But apparently it was a thing in the 30s.
John, there's a question here. Someone asked if, in addition to the COVID having its impact, have rent increases also affected you?
Unlike a lot of people, the landlord that we have now, we've had about 3 over the course of the 74 years, but our present landlord is a really nice guy. During the COVID, he reduced the rent substantially and has been very lax. As I said at the beginning, on December 27th, we were 2 months behind. At that point, he hadn't even made a telephone call to us. So he's a real nice guy. The rent did go up with this huge inflation over the past year. But no, it's been fairly reasonable all along. I've heard of other people's rents. Somebody told me that stacked and folded rent is $8,000 a month, and ours is a tiny fraction of that.
Wow.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know.
That's right.
I will say it is Fifth Ward, but it still feels like the neighborhood. So, Yeah, thank you. I really care tremendously about all the whole noise, well, all of Evanston, but thank you. Hey, John, what are some of the most popular sandwiches or soups or?
The most popular one is the smoked turkey with the aioli, which is garlic mayonnaise on a baguette.
And great
Yes.
baguettes.
Oh, thank you. And the smoked salmon and brie sandwich is another good one. We have a roast beef on a croissant with béarnaise sauce. And soups, we've got quite a lot of different ones. Amongst the most popular are the onion soup, the mushroom and wild rice soup, the leek and potato soup, and students especially seem to go for the cream of tomato soup.
Great.
And then our most probably well-known thing is our butter cookie with a buttercream frosting.
Oh, yeah, to die for. Thank you so much. Well, I hope, who's stopped in Al's Deli before here? Just if you could either, I don't raise your hand. I'm just curious how many people know Al's Deli, because if you don't, you have to get in there. It's really an experience. It's like stepping back in time. It's beautiful and the food's wonderful and it's real. It's the real thing. It's authentic. Oh, question, is delivery available?
No, I'm afraid not. Even those delivery services have spurned us. I'm afraid those Grubhubs and Ubers things are pretty much restaurant parasites. They can take 33% of the sale or even higher percentages. Restaurants do it because they feel they have to compete with other restaurants, but we have abstained. So no, everything's in person.
Okay, and what are your hours, John?
11:15 to 4 every day, but Wednesday, and we're closed all day Wednesday.
So every day except Wednesday, 11 to 4, 11:15 to 4. And there is an expression of appreciation for using the paper over plastic. And a question, do you use any gluten-free breads?
No, I'm afraid not. I should explore that, but no, at the moment, no.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm delighted that the GoFundMe was successful. And again, I'm working hard to see if we can develop a program within the city to support our businesses that we all, our cherished businesses, small businesses. And Al's Deli and Bookends and Beginnings certainly are two of those. So, thank you very much, John.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. All right, so I see we have, and please feel free to chime in or ask questions at any time. I love hearing from you all. We have with us our Preservation Commissioner, Carl Klein, and welcome, Carl. Thank you for joining us this evening. Carl is going to talk a little bit about the Legacy Business Program, and as well about, since he is a commissioner, about the commission recently developed a long-range plan. I might not be saying that right. So thank you and welcome.
Great, thank you. So yes, the Legacy Business Program was voted by the Economic Development Committee on the city. And so they established a Legacy Business Working Group. And so that working group consists of 2 people from the Preservation Commission, and so that would be me and the previous chair for last year, Susie Reinhold, and 2 council members, Councilmember Kelly and Councilmember Wynn, and then the preservation planner, Cade Sterling, and the economic development, Paul Zamazak. And so what we've done over the last few months is we've kind of been trying to establish criteria for the program, and some of the basic, like trying to figure out what it would be like in Evanston, because there have been legacy business programs around the country. The first was in San Francisco, others are in San Antonio, and then there are a few others sprinkled throughout the country. But we were trying to figure out how to make it more fit to Evanston. And the working group then helped draft, and then the city issued an RFP seeking a proposal from experienced firms for graphic design, and they asking them to develop a logo design and a website for this new program. And so the city just finished the RFP process, and I think they're going to be sending to the city council shortly their recommendation for a firm to design a logo and website for the program. And that would, and then when hopefully that gets, when that gets approved, we can then officially launch the program. The working group has a 32 businesses that are in the pilot group that kind of act as a steering committee of the working group to help, you know, weigh in, give some input about what they see the program should do. And I don't know, it's exciting to have this legacy business program in the city, and we should be celebrating all these wonderful, cherished, longstanding businesses in our city. You know, I mean, it's amazing, remarkable if a business can last 20 years, but we have numerous businesses in the city that have been around for 50, 60, 100 years, you know, and we should be celebrating that, and we should be honoring them. And then moving forward, I mean, after the launch, the working group is going to be working on developing an incentive, types of incentives for businesses. Now, not every business may apply, I guess, will be eligible to apply, but like, say, if a legacy business is in a, can have a demonstrated threat, you know, due to raising rent increase or development pressure, they could possibly apply for a grant. And then let's see, so recently in December of last year, so 2022, the Preservation Commission adopted a long-range work plan, and it's called the Preserve 2040 Preservation Commission Long Range Plan. And so essentially, this was a long time coming. The last time that the Preservation Commission adopted a plan was in the 1980s. And so it was, you know, it was about time to update and come up with a new plan. And so this new plan would then supersede that 1980 plan, and it sets goals and objectives that are, you know, short-term and long-term. And it acts as the commission's principal policy document regarding identification, documentation, and stewardship of Evanston's significant heritage resources. And it also acts as a guide of oversight and administration of the community's preservation program. And it's also important to know that to note that this isn't just going to be the Preservation Commission. Hopefully, other organizations like the History Center, Shorefront, will participate and, you know, kind of reinvigorate a preservation ethic in the city, and try to educate people too about, you know, all the wonderful things that preservation can do. It can become an economic engine, you know, if we reuse our buildings instead of demolishing them and sending them to the landfill. So, you know, one of the goals is to potentially enact a deconstruction ordinance in the city. So any building that would be demolished, instead of being demolished, it would be deconstructed. And so in deconstruction, you actually have to take more time and effort to, you know, take away each of the materials in the building. And so that then becomes, you know, it not only provides jobs and job training, but it also provides quality materials at a lower rate for people, you know, that could potentially go into affordable housing or other things. And so I think that was one of the main things that commissioners wanted, was a plan that could then tie into other plans the city had. So like the Climate Action Resiliency Plan, or the affordable housing, or you name it. So yeah, those are just two quick updates. If anyone has questions or comments.
Thank you so much, Carl. And thank you for all your wonderful work on both the commission and the Legacy Business Group. I think it's been very exciting for a lot of people, and it's a lot of fun to think about. I think, Carl, is it right that there's well over 200 that have been we've identified now? So 20 years is we decided looking at other, right, that we set it at 20 years and
Right. So to become eligible, you would have to be at least 20 years old. And you have to demonstrate that you've been a significant, part of Evanston. And right. So I mean, this wasn't a very comprehensive survey to figure out the businesses, but we did discover that there are about 200, maybe even more businesses that are at least 20 years old, and a significant portion of them are over 50 years old. And the other thing to note is that they are diverse in types of business, location, types of ownership. So some own their buildings, some rent. You have everything from jewelry, service stations, chocolate, chicken, everything, you can think of. Rugs, Manassian Rugs being one of the oldest rug companies in the city. I mean, we could all go on for days about all the wonderful businesses we have in the city.
yes, plumbing, Cahill Plumbing.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really fun. You're always welcome. We were meeting every other week. I think we're now down to once a month. Is that right, Carl?
Yeah.
I think we're meeting once a month now. And those should be posted on the city calendar. Anybody's welcome to come. Sometimes it's a lot of fun when we have our legacy business owners show up and participate and give advice. And it's a very, very colorful. And
So I think I just noticed a question in the chat. No, it does not have to be the same owner. So one of the things that I think we discussed in the working group was if a business has maintained the same type of business, has been there in the same location for a long time. For example, like Bookends and Beginnings started out as Bookman's Alley, then became Bookends and Beginnings. It was the same bookstore kind of concept. So we're considering that to be that. And then also, I don't think that we're making it a requirement that it has always been the same owner, right?
right. No, absolutely. So for example, Bookends and Beginning, that's carried on from the bookstore. Puts Bookends and Beginning as a legacy business, or like Turin Bike Store that, it's been bikes there for a very long time. It was Turin, Wheel and Sprocket, I think. So yes, with a similar venue, a similar culture, carrying that on. So it's very exciting. And we're very excited about the website. The whole point of that is to promote, to get the business out, to have, whether it's going to be plaques out, we'll see what we come up with to draw attention, because I think we know people really love these businesses. Nina, saw you waving.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, as a designated legacy business, one of the reasons I feel like this is so important, what happened to us in the alley was this giant rent increase that we didn't see coming and we couldn't afford. And, my little wake-up call from that experience is knowing that if you are renting, there's no protection for your business. So you can I was doing business in the alley for almost 10 years. I felt very established and rooted in that part of Evanston, but somebody new can buy your property and they can tell you, now you owe us this much money, and it can, completely endanger your survival. So I think of something, to be taking these steps, to be recognizing that sometimes the businesses need help, to be recognizing what role. Pete, you say the word business and I think people just think businesses rake in money. Like that's what they do, but it's getting really, really hard to run any kind of small business anymore. And yet when we talk about like developing downtown Evanston and bringing more people to live in downtown Evanston and making Evanston a walkable city, if all of those sort of forces toward development drive out all of the small businesses that are actually giving the city its character, that make people want to come live there, you know, you have a problem that I think, you know, a lot of cities are struggling to solve. So I think this is a really creative, helpful, positive way to work on that.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. And I do want to say, you know, staff is working, we've already taken some steps towards some sort of limited degrees of not, you know, real heavy duty protections, but for example, when developers or property owners come in and they want variances to our zoning, we're adding a question to that application form that asks how, and I'm not going to word it quite right, so staff will get it, but you know, how do you plan to support, or are there existing businesses and how do you plan to support them? So just putting that question into the application already sends a strong message, like we care about them and we're going to be looking at that. Like we care. This is, you know, downtown, our business districts are like our living room, right? And we care about our small businesses. So adding that question to an application for a variance to zoning is important. Other things that we're looking at, a lot of cities have programs in place where landlords will agree to have the city participate in negotiations between landlords and the business owners to try to arrive at long-term lease agreements and things like that. So those are measures that we hope we can move forward on in terms of policy that will actually kind of serve to some degree as protective measures. So Carl, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just seeing another comment in the chat. I think that, I mean, personally, I don't think that big box stores should qualify for a legacy business, because I think the whole purpose of the program, like Nina said, is to support and, you know, celebrate our small businesses, because they are really the drivers of what people come to our city. I mean, if you think about where our legacy businesses are located, they're on the main Dempster Mile, they're on Central, they're on Dodge, they're on Emerson, they're on Ashland, the small, older neighborhoods that have these, you know, human scale walkable neighborhoods. And I think people like that. They want to come and they want to support those kind of businesses because they're unique. You can go to a Target anywhere you go. You know, any city USA has a Target. I mean, no knock on Target, but I mean, you know, if you could get the same thing at another small business, personally, I will go to the small business instead of Amazon or a big box store. So. And
as Carl mentioned, you know, there is an application process and which we're developing, and we do have our pilot group, which Al's Deli and John Pottinger, thank you for being with us this evening, and Nina are both part of that pilot group. So, you know, it's about what do you culturally, how do you contribute to the culture in Evanston? You know, what do you bring to Evanston? Which, you know, sometimes if it's a chain store, a big box store, a formula store, that question would be a little bit more difficult to answer in a way that would you know, meet our ideas of what is the value of legacy businesses. And Carl, thank you also for addressing the long range plan of the Preservation Commission. I'm very excited about seeing our whole community become educated about the value of preservation. I think oftentimes people have thought of it as just being sort of relegated to one part of Evanston and not really, and somehow have associated it with just, whereas it's really so important for so many parts of Evanston where we have not really addressed preservation. So thank you for your work in that area.
Right. Can I just add, I think that there was a concerted effort in that plan to make sure that we were telling the full story of Evanston's history, to not exclude any group, especially to groups that have not been acknowledged in the past. It's time for that group to be, you know, acknowledged and have their histories shared as well. And then, like, for example, the cross-pollination of groups has already started, because I think the environmental committee has started to discuss a potential tree ordinance in the city. And, trees are a big part of our city's history. We are a tree city, and we do have, historically, we had the elms that lined our streets, but, with the Dutch elm disease, we've had to slowly, change our trees, but trees are an important part. So remember that preservation isn't just about buildings, it's also about landscape and more than just buildings. So yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Questions for Carl Klein? Any other questions? Okay, so thank you again. And let's see, I have Paul Zalmazek, the director of our manager of economic development, and Annie Coakley, who is our SSA director. I think they're both about to jump on, so we'll go ahead. It's a nice time to segue to hear from Paul, an update about economic development in downtown, and if Annie Coakley is on, we'll hear about new businesses. And I will say, I don't know if you've all been to the theater, to the movies, to the cinema. It's open. I've been there. It's really, that's very exciting. I particularly loved, I went out for dinner and we were able to reserve our seats. That was sort of a new benefit of this, of our new movie theater. So that was a lot of fun, not to have to rush and get there a half an hour early in order to secure seats. So let's see, Paul, is Paul on the, oh yes. Hey, Paul, thank you so much for coming this evening. I know you're back to back with meetings, so I really appreciate your jumping on the call.
Oh, are you introducing me?
I am introducing you. This is Paul Zalmazek, our economic director, economic development manager. Is that right? Or director?
That's my title. Yes. Thank you.
And Paul's done, as Carl mentioned, and as Nita's mentioned, a lot of just fabulous work to support our legacy businesses and our downtown and much more. So thank you very much for all your hard work and collaboration.
I appreciate that. And regarding, by the way, I'm standing in a warehouse in the back room of an event space in Skokie. I was here tonight with my colleague Annie Coakley to brag about what's going on in Evanston, and a lot of that is in the first ward in downtown. We sat on a panel that was recorded. Local realtor Aaron Mashevsky he has a show called Inside the Skev. So we did that. We just finished. Thanks for inviting me late to the meeting. Did you want me to give a quick update on happenings, or do you want me to sit back and wait for questions? How do you want to handle this tonight?
I think a quick update would be great. There were a few questions earlier tonight about a few openings of stores that I wasn't familiar with.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be glad to answer those questions. So going back to 2022, we had a couple of initiatives that we're really proud of that I believe are underway and going well. One was our Street Plus Evanston Clean team. Kind of a slow start. It took them a little while to get fully staffed and figure out the routine, but I think they're doing a good job. And we are responsive to 311 calls. So if you are seeing overflowing trash cans or concerns, let us know and we'll pass that on to the clean team. They've been very responsive. Candace Mason is the woman who leads the team, and she's very receptive to input. So if you happen to see her on the street, say thanks or offer up some advice to her if you're seeing a mess somewhere to clean up. Really important that we keep the town clean because we want to make sure that we just have a nice environment. It's kind of a no-brainer idea. And then the other initiative, okay, I do see a question. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the feedback. The other initiative we're working on closely with Councilmember Kelly, who brings her usual style of, kind of smart critiques. She doesn't just buy what they say or recommend. She really challenges them to think deeper about some of the preliminary recommendations and some of their findings. But this is a team out of Philadelphia called Interface Studio. And they're kind of maybe around 6 weeks away from offering up some recommendations to the council on our business district improvement opportunities. This would include infrastructure improvements, recommendations around hosting events. Councilmember Kelly has really been pushing hard to have a music festival. I feel like it's one of my biggest failures that I've not been able to bring that for her. But we're figuring out how to do it. So we'll hope to have one soon. And then there'll be a really broad discussion about how do we recover in this kind of, we're not post-pandemic, we're kind of hopefully nearing the end of it. Hybrid work, e-commerce, crazy world we're in. How are we going to fill these vacant spaces? Lots of ideas around that. And this study will not give all the answers, but it'll point us in the right direction with your input as community members and Evanstonians, along with Councilmember Kelly and our team. I think we're moving in the right direction. I really feel strongly that Evanston is going to emerge from this better than before. This is not the first time that this community has had to kind of morph and change based on economic conditions. Okay, so those are the two big initiatives. Then we'll talk about some ground level things that have happened. Latour, you know, Amy Morton's restaurant is up and running. She's doing really well. Not sure if you all love the bright halo that she put around it, but it does kind of add a bit of excitement. And I think she's getting good reviews in the press for her food. And I'm hoping that that will be the base from which to create an energy of really good restaurants surrounding Fountain Square. We hear a lot about how people are excited about Wilmette, but I think what people are reacting to is not just good restaurants in Wilmette, but this energy around this agglomeration or network of restaurants together, outdoor under lights, and kind of a scene, something to be part of. And I think we could do better around Fountain Square. Some of these chain stores really probably just kind of need to fade away and transition into more unique places. So Latour, Fonda's coming, which is a kind of a high-end Mexican restaurant, unique to Evanston. It's not a chain. That's going in the stained glass space. Another Mexican restaurant on Clark Street next to Einstein. So we're doing okay. There's a lot of private investment. There's a lot of interest from the development community. There are some projects underway already, and more not quite in the works, but people scoping out spaces to figure out what the next phase of Evanston is. So I don't want to sound like a pitch man. That's not my style, but I do want to stress that I think we're okay. I mean, it's Evanston, and yes, we lost Clark's. Yes, Smiley is closed for now. Okay, I think we'll see Smiley back. Smiley is a very smart guy. With his family dates back to the founding of the Chicago Stock Exchange. He's going to figure it out. And we lost Flat Top. You know what, Flat Top? Sorry, it's a chain. It's a chain that's had its day, and it's time for it to transition out. And again, we got some good things coming. The bookstore on Orrington. So I'll stop there. I did see a comment about parking. Parking is always part of our meetings, and we have to continue to address that at the staff level. I did not see that comment. Can somebody read what was the last email? Sorry, what was the last chat comment that somebody sent?
So the last text for you is, are there still discussions or plans to move the Veterans Memorial at Fountain Square?
Oh, interesting. Was that, I guess I wasn't aware that was something that some members of the community were familiar with, and it doesn't surprise me, and I'm glad you're aware of it. I would say that that's up to the vets. You know, the vets have talked about it, and council member and I have spoken to the vets. There's the way I would summarize it is there isn't a schism, but there's definitely probably a majority of our Evanston engaged veterans want to figure out what the options are for relocating it. They've seen it in its new space. They've seen how the community engages with it, and maybe kids running around a fountain and dropping their diapers and salad dressing all over the place. Maybe that isn't the best place for a veterans memorial. So that's that may Claire, that may be a 2023 activity that you and I are re-engaged in a big way. We're letting the veterans lead the way on this because it really is their realm.
And they've put together, we talked and, just presented the whole sort of picture. And I believe they have a committee that's looking at and discussing this and looking at options potentially. Again, as Paul said, it's up to them.
It's serious, and we as a community need to be open to hearing what they have to say and maybe relocating it if necessary. And I saw Mr. Tannenbaum's text of dollar signs. Yes, it will be expensive, and do we keep that very expensive wall, or do we build a new? There's lots of things to figure out. So I'll stop there and wait for the next question.
I have a couple of questions for you, Paul.
Sure
Go
thing,
ahead,
Josh.
I want to know, I heard Crumble is coming, Crumble Cookie, a cookie place called Crumble coming to Evanston, Paul.
Yeah, you sound just like my son, who is super excited about that. I'm not sure that they're going to get. Okay, let me start over. Crumble is potentially opening at the base of the movie theater development. The owner of the property is negotiating terms with Crumble, and Crumble is kind of a popular high-end upscale cookie, and it gets a lot of social media following, and I hope it happens. So keep your fingers crossed. Josh, I don't know if you're good at community engagement or rallying the troops, but see what you can put together a little campaign to try to get them to commit to signing a lease, because it would be good to have them here.
But
That was the
I heard
second
a hot
question.
dog. I heard a hot dog place coming to down to Evanston.
Devil Dogs is opening. They've signed a lease. Again, that's at the movie theater development, and this place will have cool, well, I think it's cool murals designed by local artists Leah Pinsky and Dustin Harris. It will be a hot dog burger place that I think is going to have wide appeal to the middle school and high school kids and the college kids. The Church Street Plaza movie theater development is kind of reformatting as kind of a family destination, which we've been really desperate for years. And my kids are going to be kind of too old for it by the time it's over. But it'll be a nice attraction for some of the younger families in Evanston. But Josh, it sounds like you're a foodie.
I know, I always like support Evanston restaurants.
Thank you.
And do you know when the Mexican place opening by Noodle Company?
Oh yeah, another, so it's our third yes, opening soon actually. That is Big Wig Taco.
Correct. I heard about
Yeah,
that.
that's opening. All of these businesses will be opening in the spring.
Okay. Thank you for the information, Paul.
Josh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That is exciting. All right. Hot dogs and cookies and Mexican food.
Yeah,
All right,
cardiologist on the corner. We're gonna be all set.
there you go. 1900 Sherman question.
Yes, I don't have. I have no details other than that was in my slide presentation tonight. What was the question? Just the status of it?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately I'm unfamiliar with the progress of that project.
Okay.
My colleague Sarah Flax, who manages housing, would be a better person to provide that information.
Okay, fabulous.
But I would love to follow up with you if Claire, if you can send me whoever asked the question.
Okay. All right, will do. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Thank you for that comprehensive overview.
Okay. I hope that wasn't too much.
The question about this fountain, I'm sorry, pardon me for interrupting. Fountain Square, about the splash pads, I think, along with the question, I think we're looking at, maybe you can address it, Paul, but we want to have a more comprehensive plan, which involves some decisions that haven't yet been made, as well as there's a lawsuit, but.
Right. I would, the only thing I would add is, yes, the city council, I believe, has made some form of decision to wait for the lawsuit to be completed before making decisions on repairing it and or redesigning it. We are of the mindset that we're going to repair it. And we believe that the contractor is responsible for that. But it's a matter of the law department. It's a legal case. And I'm speaking in really broad terms because I'm not involved in it, but that's where we'll stop. But it's still an ongoing matter. It's really unfortunate. The timing couldn't have been worse.
Thank you. Let's see, I think that's it. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Paul. Thank you for your.
All right, I hope I was helpful. And again, I feel like I kept relatively brief, but maybe in future meetings, if you want to send me emojis of stop signs or, to cut me off if I'm talking too much, that would be okay too. But it's always good to talk with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, did Annie Coakley, are you?
Is it?
She was going to
I'm
jump
not-
on, I think after your meeting,
Yeah.
but I don't know if she made it.
Yeah, Annie was with me, but I don't know if she's still here. I'm gonna hang up and let her know that the meeting's still going, and if she can join, if she's still here, she'll join.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm
Thank
not.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate
Okay. Yeah, of course. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
it. Okay, well, I'm not sure if Annie's on yet, so maybe what we can do is just a little question and answers, concerns. I know there's a lot of big topics like the Northwestern Stadium and what else? I know a lot of people wanted me to address, and I will talk a little bit about the legacy plan development, the Horizon development at 1621 to 1631 Chicago Avenue. So they have submitted an application for a zoning analysis for for a 15-story mixed-use residential building. And currently we're trying to set a date and time for a community meeting. We're looking at the end of the month. Before that goes forward, there's a little bit, the Michaels would prefer that it were in person. I had requested that our community meeting be virtual, so that, because a lot of residents said they couldn't attend in person or they would be traveling, and this is so important to them. So right now staff is looking to see if we can arrange for a hybrid meeting, so that it's both to accommodate their request that it be in person, but also residents' requests for, there's Annie, great. Residents' request that it be virtual. So I'm waiting to get that piece ironed out, and then postcards will go out, and we'll have a community meeting to discuss this this proposed 15-story high rise. So hope that please, if there are any more questions on that. Otherwise, I do see Annie. Thank you so much for joining our call. This is Annie Coakley. She is the SSA director for downtown Evanston. And I
Hi,
really,
good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm at a networking event, so I'm not sure what Paul covered, but everyone always wants to know about new business, so I'll start there. Obviously, the AMC movie theater is up and running. I will tell you that I've been hearing from a lot of community members, they're not thrilled with the look of it. AMC and ownership of the building have told us that, the finishing touches will take place. They're working on it. So you'll be able to get the full theater experience very soon. They've also signed a lease with Egg Harbor, which has been in the news, but if you didn't see that, Bigwig Tacos, Jump Zone, which is a trampoline space. They're working on another entertainment user that will take up about 10,000 square feet of space. And then if they do sign that lease, there will only be 2,000 square feet of space yet available in that entire complex, which is kind of incredible. They've done a really great job attracting tenants to take their vacant spaces that were there for quite a while. And Fonda is a restaurant. It's 1630 Benson, I'm sorry. It's the old stained glass restaurant. It's a more of an upscale Mexican restaurant. Amy Morton, as you know, closed Found, but she's opened La Tour. If that hasn't been covered on the meeting tonight, I'm sorry, or if it was. And that is a French Moroccan restaurant. And all of the restaurants that I'm talking about tonight, next month is the North Shore Restaurant Month. It's an entire month of February. You'll be learning information from that if you sign up for my newsletter. I'll send it to Claire, and the council member can get it out to all of you respectively. Also in February, downtown Evanston celebrates Hygge. It's spelled Hygge, but it is pronounced Hygge. It's a Scandinavian term for things that are cozy and warm that you can sort of celebrate in the winter months. We're going to be taking over a vacant storefront, the Close Knit space on Orrington, and we're going to have a series of workshops as pop-up for the entire month. Think crafts, art classes, a whole bunch of things to, be in a communal setting and do mindful things like, watercolor. For example, we'll have a couple of other restaurants and other spaces that are hosting food related events. All of that can be found on the Downtown Evanston website, which is downtownevanston.org. So we have, February is a slow month for business, but in general, because it's cold and kind of crummy out. And so the restaurant month is a reason to get out, take advantage of like a free appetizer or dessert or some discounts, and then the Hygge event as well. And I think that about covers it for newness. But of course, I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you so much, Annie. Really appreciate it. Questions? Thank you. It's great to hear about the new businesses. Let's see. Okay, and Lori, thank you for your question about parking. I know that's not directly related, but I agree with you. There are a few questions here about parking. Let's see. Any questions for Annie? Okay, the former unicorn. Oh, that's interesting. The former unicorn space. I think there might be a plan for that space.
That is actually owned by the ownership of the Orrington Hotel. So they own that real estate. And I actually did reach out to the ownership or the general manager before this meeting for you all tonight to see, when they were going to go in for permitting. We're down event space a little bit when we lost Smiley Brother, and it's without that ballroom, not having that capacity for a large event space. It's unfortunate for Evanston, but they are their total investment to improve that hotel is around $40 million, which is significant. And the first thing they're going to be concentrating on is that ballroom to bring back event space for, anything from a wedding to a prom, what have you. But they do own that space, that real estate where the salon was, the Stephen Papa George salon and the Unicorn. I'm not sure how aggressive they are in marketing that space right now, but I will find that out. And then I saw a question about LA Fitness. I know they've toured it to 4 operators, all fitness related. I'm not sure where they are or if they're close to signing a lease with an operator. Yes, fingers crossed, Councilmember Kelly, that is a huge footprint that is vacant for us. My guess, if I was someone who guessed things like this, is that it might be divided, that space might have to be divided because it is quite large. It's like, I think 34,000 square feet. So that's an awful lot of space for one operator.
I just want to mention, I think there are one of the small businesses might expand into the Unicorn, but I don't know if I can discuss that out loud, but just, so I think there is a possibility.
I did hear that as well. Yes. So yeah, we'll see.
One of our existing businesses. Burger King on track.
There is going to be, and there'll be notice going out, the crane to do some of the literal heavy lifting of the project will be, I think, up for 3 or 4 days, which will completely halt through traffic on Clark Street. I'm positive the city will provide, substantial time for communication to make sure that everybody knows that there won't be through traffic on Clark Street. I think it's going to be for 3 or 4 days, and that's either next week or the following week. But yes, they're definitely on track. Who else is on track? The new restaurant, Thomas and Dutch, where Farmhouse was, and Councilmember Kelly was so helpful in getting that beautiful outdoor cafe, permanent outdoor cafe set up. They are on track to open end February. So that's excellent. It's a whole new concept, new name, new everything, same ownership. So we're really, it's sort of a sink or swim industry. If you don't, continue to reinvent yourself, you're gonna struggle a little bit. The restaurant industry is significantly difficult. I'm sure I don't have to tell a lot of you on the call here, and we did lose some, recently. And that is very common at the beginning of the year. A restaurant owner will decide like, okay, I hung out for the holidays, but I'm just not going to be able to, continue to operate in this manner. I do think there's some, I have 2 brokers calling me for the Clark's off-campus space on Davis Street with very exciting tenants. I, of course, can't mention who they are, but I think we'll have a signed lease there very soon.
Thank you. I think we're all still a little bit in mourning about losing Clark's. So
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they had a very long run.
yeah, one of our very oldest businesses.
35 years. Yeah.
What is coming with Panera used to be? What coming used to be what Panera used to be?
We don't know yet. Panera is still paying rent on that space actually. And so the landlord hasn't aggressively been marketing the space because he's receiving his rent without a tenant, which is, kind of a unique situation for a landlord to be in.
And Annie, there's a question, are all the downtown businesses able to collaborate to participate in Hygge? Did I say it right?
Hygge, that's the right word. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if there's a business owner on the call that wants to get involved, ACOAKLEY at downtownevanston.org, please reach out to me, or just go to downtownevanston.org. My contact information is on the site. Yeah, we reach out to everybody with our business newsletter. It's gone out about 4 times now with a form for businesses to sign up. And we're also working with local creatives. Like I mentioned in this vacant storefront, we're going to have some art classes that local artists are going to be teaching through, some of these events are free, some of them are ticketed. All of them require an RSVP, and links to all of that is on our website right now. Again, HYGGE is the term. It's a Scandinavian term, but it's pronounced Hygge.
Great, thank you. And I just want to address the parking. Somebody earlier too mentioned, could we try a month of free parking? Since I got elected, I've been all over that. I feel very strongly that we should be trying free parking or some portion of free parking, and then compare, the sales tax revenue and see what kind of an impact something like that. So I appreciate that suggestion to try a month of free parking or 2, just, to be able to compare get some data. Let's see. There's another question. Is Paul within an earshot? How does someone get a grant or TIF money for their business?
Grants. There is a new grant program coming out through Paul's shop that is more robust than the storefront modernization program. So it is for different types of things than just the facade of a building or a storefront. I don't know what they're calling it actually. And TIF, if you're in a TIF district, then there's possibilities, but there are not many TIF districts in Evanston, and that's the only way to finance a TIF grant program is if you're in a specific TIF district, and there are funds available that aren't earmarked for a specific project. That's what I know about TIFs, having worked with them for so many years when I had my job in the city of Chicago.
So do you know if, is Paul there or is he? So I've got the process for applying for a TIF grant. Hi, thank you, Paul. Sorry to pull you back in.
Oh,
What's the process for?
That's just his screenshot. I'm gonna go find him.
Oh, that's okay. That's a great question. What is the process for applying for TIF funding? Like, what's the first step?
That Wood were in that 2010 Stanley Cup win. But still, bit of history tonight. Yeah, a big game and a disappointing loss for the Flyers. They were hoping for better results. Good job by the Hawks. We'll throw it. You know where our favorite
Okay.
film.
So I'll see if we don't get an answer tonight, I'll make sure I will put that on my next email. What are the steps involved in applying for TIF grant? It's a great question. TIF grant. And also, by the way, hello, Annie, did you?
I didn't see him. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. But I'll get to the bottom of that and make sure I respond to that. And also, please always email me. So I'll put that also on the agenda. So I address it at the ward meeting also. Anytime you want, special topics to be addressed, please just email me at any point in time or text me and I'll make sure I put it on the agenda. That's a great question.
I saw a question about the fountain. What I understand there is, again, that it's a legal, question at this point. There is a lawsuit.
We chatted about that. So.
Okay, you did. All right. I saw a question pop up. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I just want to let you know so you don't have to. Oh, thank you. I see someone put a link up here about TIF districts. Also, I wonder if, thank you for putting that link up. And Carl, if you're still on, I don't know if you are, but there is right now, we do have a city website for our legacy businesses, but we will have a much bigger, robust, fancier, fun website soon. So Carl, if you're still on, if you could put that in the chat box, that would be great. Terrific. Okay, Annie, thank you so much. Questions for Annie Coakley, our SSA director. Okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate your jumping on after a meeting like that. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, everyone. ACOAKLEY@downtownevanston.org. Feel free to email me with any questions. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. You too. And thank you, Carl, for putting the legacy business program. Okay, now I know it's already pretty late, so maybe a few minutes. I want to make sure I do address questions that all of you might have. That was really a lovely evening with many wonderful guests. It was so nice to have John Pottinger and Nina Barrett and Paul and Annie and Carl. Any questions about any other Evanston event, ward or Evanston topic, ward topic?
Can you answer the question about the Metro Viaduct? Can you see it?
Oh, thank you. At Davis. We'll CT do the same. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think that's the fourth word, but I can look into that and find out about that. I don't know. So the Metro Viaduct is being refurbished at Davis, but will the CTA do the same thing at Davis to complete the job? I assume you mean that it's being partially refurbished. I will find out. Deborah, thank you for asking. I know we have a few of the viaducts that need desperate attention. I know over here at Lincoln and Ridge, which is right at the 7th Ward and 1st Ward, that needs a lot of attention, has needed attention for a while.
Claire, this is Deborah. Just a clarification for the borders of Ward 1. Is it Benson Street? Is that the end of Ward 1?
Right. So it's Benson Street.
Okay.
Exactly. And then it crosses over to.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. I don't think it gets a little complicated downtown.
Right.
But I will look into that. Thank you. And I want to find out also the plan again, like I know
it looks like when they did the Metro side of it, they completed it, but when they went to the CTA, which is the side on the lake side, it looks like it was all buffed down and readied for something, but then stopped. So I didn't know if it was a separate thing that CTA has to do by itself and Metro is no longer involved, or because they were doing all the buffing and sanding of it, but then never finished painting it like they did the Metro.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the question. I'll find out, and it's a great question. And I'll find out, and I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Ryan Field. Let's see. Update on Ryan Field. I think at this point, someone asked that question, or is that just a direct? That was a direct message to me. But Ryan Field, Northwestern has submitted its application for. Let me just pull that up. One moment. They will be submitting a text amendment for for commercial use for concerts, and that's probably one of the controversial aspects about it. One moment. And they have already submitted a zoning analysis application to, and I think parking is one of the big issues in the zoning analysis, where for what they're asking for, they would need over 4,000 parking spaces. But they're proposing 1,300. So that's part of the zoning analysis. I won't go into, it's many pages long. But then for the commercial aspect with regard to concerts, they will be submitting an application for a zoning text amendment for a number of concerts, anywhere from, I think that's still up for debate, how many concerts that would be a year. Any questions about that? I'll do my very best to answer. Or if there's someone else online too, who from the 7th Ward, feel free to update on the Northwestern situation. Okay. Any other questions on any other topics? Happy to discuss.
Hey, Claire,
Yeah.
this is Mary Rosinski. How are you?
Okay. Hey,
Regarding the Ryan Field, I would like to just say an update. Please stay posted. There's a couple of neighborhood not just neighborhood, but Evanston organizations who are trying to educate the public also as to the impact of what Northwestern is requesting. And just so they're requesting somewhere between 12 and 14, 35,000 people concerts a year, open air concerts. So it really makes it in the warm months. And then another undefined number of smaller concerts and events of 10,000 people. And it's in total conflict with our zoning code and our comprehensive plan. And so there's a lot of push out there, and there's surveys being put out by Northwestern and people on the street that are paid by Northwestern. I just want people to be aware, this is a huge, huge issue, and that needs a lot of clarity and discussion, and wondering, this is just so people have a relative perspective. The United Center hosts about 23,000, and the Horizon says 28,000, and this would be 35,000. So that's why I was wondering if you've heard any more updates as far as where they are and what they're doing and what their timeline is.
So I just know they're still waiting they have not yet submitted their text amendment application for a text amendment to allow for the concerts. And they submitted in December 8th, our staff gave them a response to their zoning analysis application. And again, they have just a lot of questions, and they still need a lot of information back from Northwestern regarding all kinds of things, loading docks, fencing, demolition, just lots of questions still. So they'll be submitting more. So they're still very much in the zoning analysis application phase. I don't know when they're expected to submit an application for the text amendment. And then they'll also have to submit an application for a liquor code amendment, right? To be able to allow alcohol sales at the stadium. So those are still upcoming. I don't know when those will be submitted. So a lot of applications.
Thank you.
And did you say, Mary, did I understand you to say that this would be larger than the United Center, the seating? Mary?
Hold on. wait a second, I'm trying to get to back to, the iPhone. Claire, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Did you say, so you said that the seating, and I'm not familiar with.
Claire,
Yeah, can you hear me, Mary?
can you hear me?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
yeah, so the United Center hosts, their concerts are about 23,000. And the other one, the other second largest is, oh, maybe it's the Tinley Park, but one of them is 28,000. And this would be 35,000 people coming from all over. And most people will be going, like they do at these other concert venues, is eating and drinking in the facility. So it's just a lot to be discussed because there's a certain amount of misinformation that's coming forth, and questions need to be asked because the impact on the neighborhoods, it's not just the surrounding 5 neighborhoods, but it's all of Evanston and the businesses. Really, and I just would love people to really pay attention, ask some questions of what are our values. You know, Northwestern doesn't pay any taxes on this, but it would be commercial use and professional uses, and they're an educational facility. So, and everyone pays permits. So it's just, I won't make the case now, but I think people really need to think, what is the quality of life that you want for your neighbors? So, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary. A couple of other questions here. Oh, you shouldn't feel bad. Gail, thank you for asking about the Harley Clark. Yes, so the Artist Bookhouse is pulling out due to inability to raise the funds needed. I think the good news is we do have the Jens Jensen's Garden 501c3 organization that will continue to work to hopefully will continue to work and maintain the grounds. So I am hopeful that the city will provide a lease to Charles Smith and his wonderful community organization. And then I think after we tussle over a few other big items at the city, like the Fleetwood Jourdain Center and other big items that we have, I think then we'll start to look at the Harley Clark and how we proceed with that to make it available for community use and how we do that. As per the referendum, to keep that as a space and a house on the lake for the community. So again, I'm hopeful that the Jen Jensen's Gardens will continue to do the beautiful work they've been doing to maintain the historic gardens. Let's see, there's a question about, I'm sorry, Candy?
This isn't really a Ward 1 thing, but I think it's important, is I read conflicting reports about a new school in Ward 5, and then maybe they'll tweak the other schools, they'll close something and change the boundaries. Do you think that's going smoothly? I mean, is it all above board?
So, yeah, I think it's, you know, it was presented at the Finance and Budget Committee recently, just a presentation. I think we on Finance and Budget, we absolutely still have a lot of questions. And I think we need to give direction, but we haven't been provided yet what we feel is the information that we need to be able to give direction to staff and to council from Finance and Budget. I am concerned. I do have great concerns about the costs that we're talking about to potentially build a new community center in order to accommodate a Fifth Ward school. Fifth Ward school seems wonderful, but to incur those kind of costs, I don't think District 65 either wants to see Evanston residents burdened in such a way in order to have to be able to provide a Fifth Ward school. So yes, I'm also concerned, and I will continue to ask questions, and I expect maybe not this next Finance and Budget session, but hopefully the one after that we'll have a more robust discussion and give some direction as to how we feel the city should proceed in a fiscally responsible way on this.
Thank you.
Sure. So, and again, it's all still up there looking at a variety of different options and plans. So, so thank you for asking. That's a very important topic. Let's see. And Dave Reynolds, thank you. What has happened since? I'm not sure I understand the question. Is Dave Reynolds still on the call?
Several months ago, we met at the library to talk about plans for the lakefront.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I had, actually, as chair of the APW, I did ask staff to give a special presentation on that. And I think they're still developing, getting more input that's my understanding, that they have not yet, there's no concrete proposal, but thank you. That's, I'm going to ask for another update, because at that point, they just presented a little bit the feedback that the consulting firm that was hired got from residents at the library. So thank you for that. I am going to follow up on that, because we should be getting another update besides just an update on the feedback from residents. Thank you.
What other input are they looking for?
So you went to the library, correct, where a bunch of schematics were presented?
Mhm.
So I don't know that they're looking for more input, or if they're having, anyway, I will follow up. I don't know where we're at. That was our last sort of update, was on resident feedback from that presentation at the library. I had expressed concerns about the initially proposed expense over the next 5 years. It was a large number, and I was trying to, understand how that was accounted for. So that's been sort of pulled off the table for the moment. The initial large expense that was proposed, until we understand what we as a community, how we really want to proceed with at the lakefront. I think there was a lot of overwhelming response to keep it as natural as possible, not, super built up. So I would imagine that would also decrease the cost. But I will, thank you very much for asking, David, and I will follow up on that. I think it is time that we get another report on that. So thank you. I appreciate the question.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Let's see, Lori, is there a discussion about the fact that the 800, yeah, that's a lot of money.
800 million is the number I've heard.
Is Mary still on the line?
Yes.
Somebody, or I think there was someone else who might, is it 800 million? Is that right?
Well, that's what we're told that the Ryans are giving to Northwestern. And I think only 400 is going toward 400 million, which is a lot of money. But I think it's 400 for the stadium, and then I don't know where the rest of the money is going. And that's what I've heard.
Right, it is. Yes, I hear you, Lori. I hear your concerns. Yeah, I think that should be discussed. I think your point is really well taken, and we should actually talk about that sort of an expense in light of so many businesses suffering and people having to move out because of the high cost of living here. So I don't know, where it goes, but I think it is an important point you're making.
Well, especially since it's about football also, where they play, 6 games a year in the stadium, and young men are risking their lives and being injured and damaged by the game, quote unquote.
Thank you.
And one thing I'd like to highlight is that there are actually 7 football games a year. There are 81 sports events there a year, between basketball, baseball, soccer, both men and women's. And then there are 4 days, I think, or 5 days of graduations. And then there's whatever other special events they do. So just to be aware that the text amendment, if that's where they go, would change the nature of the entire U2 district from those type of events to commercial, professional events. Yeah, so it is huge. And I think there's been a lot of talk about, what is the purpose of a nonprofit educational organization? To your point, are they in education or professional football and sports and entertainment?
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we're approaching 9 o'clock. So please, again, always email me if there are topics you want to have discussed, and I'll be sure to put those on the agenda. And email me anyway on any other concerns or questions.
Hey,
Okay, well,
Kelly,
yes.
I'm sorry, quick question. Do you know about the spa, the EGED? Are they, I know they went out, are they going to come back, the spa? In Evanston, the
Yeah.
spa?
I don't know. Does anybody know about, and I know.
I can answer it a little bit. This is Lori Howick. I just don't have my picture up, but the gentleman who was running it has had health problems and is not planning to return. Some of the staff from there have moved to other locations and are currently contacting former clients to come to them down in Lakeview.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Really appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. Really lovely meeting. So much appreciate your participation, your thoughts, your ideas, your collaboration. Okay, good night.